Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Board Game Buys. So in this series I take a look at all of the games that I've acquired over the last 30 days or so. But before I rattle through these 12 or 13 games I believe, I want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor and the place where I go first when it comes to acquiring board games. That is KIENDA.co.uk, and if you use my link in the show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. But let's get started with trekking through history. So this is a family weight game. It's a kind of a set collection game as you are drafting cards from this row here. All the cards are dated and you are rewarded by kind of going through the years in chronological order and not breaking that pattern, otherwise you have to start a new run, which is not going to be as strong when it comes to acquiring points. But at the same time you're trying to collect symbols to fill up these little itinerary boards, which can get you points as you go and even give you points by creating rows of the different types. It's all held together through this time track system where whenever you acquire cards you're going to move a certain number of spots on this time track, and as long as you are the furthest behind you can keep taking turns. So you can probably tell this is a mishmash of quite readily established mechanisms, but I'm looking forward to sharing my thoughts about it. So that is trekking through history. We have picked up a copy of Skyward. This is a I split you choose game. So I actually talked about recently on my Q&A that's a mechanism that isn't really seen that often, and it's a mechanism I really enjoy because it creates some pretty interesting decisions, not only by dividing up the cards but also which set to collect. And this one is a bit more involved than most of the other I split you choose games that I've played because there's more moving parts, there's a lot more synergies in different ways. So that is Skyward. I've played that one once so far but need to play it some more. I've already talked about beer and bread, so it was actually this last month that I picked this one up. I've already reviewed it. A little two-player multi-use card game. Check out my review if you want to know my thoughts on it. It's good. It's not going to be a keeper though. So that is beer and bread. We have the newest edition of Makoji or Makoji Geishas Road. So I have already recorded my review of this one. I will be releasing that very shortly, so keep an eye out for that one. But Makoji is one of my favourite games of all time, probably my favourite, if not one of my top 2 or 3 favourite two-player games. Another game that uses that I split you choose mechanism. This one does the same thing. There's a bit more going on when it comes to these like rondelle. You're going around collecting characters. And there's different modules and stuff you can pin on as well to up the up the complexity. But yeah, I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. Again, I have recorded my review, so be sure to keep an eye out. I have a copy of Wizards of the Grimoire. So this was very kindly sent to me by the publisher. This is like a two-player dueling game. Those kind of games aren't normally my forte, but I don't mind them if they are more self-contained, which I believe this one is. I think this is everything you need in the box. There's no need to buy new stuff. And it's not always a type of game that I don't like, but it's seldom that I do, because there are some kind of head-to-head dueling games that I do like. But this one, it sounds like it's nice and concise. I've not had a fully deep dive into the rules yet, not had a chance to play it. But, you know, it could be a bit of a sleeper because, again, my hopes aren't ultra high. But, you know, I think from the general consensus is that people who have played this game think quite highly of it. So that is Wizards of the Grimoire, a strategy card game for 2 players. I picked up a copy of Codex Naturalis. So this is a game that I actually had my eye on for quite a long time because I actually really love the look of this one. And it's a puzzly little card game as you are laying these cards out. The cards are absolutely amazing looking. And when you play these cards, you're kind of laying them on the corners of existing cards, which will cover up symbols and also reveal new ones, which will give you points in different ways. Like to play new cards, which will give you points, or even to try and achieve these public objectives. Now, I have played this one. It's nice and quick, it's nice and simple. I'm not sure if I'll do a full review of it, and I might just cover my thoughts in a kind of collection of reviews, because it is pretty straightforward. So that is Codex Naturalis. Picked up a copy of Rise. So Rise is, I think, the most recent game out of all of these, maybe excluding Beer and Bread and Geishas Road. But this is it's a game about climbing tracks. So there's a ton of different tracks you are moving up. All the tracks synergize with each other in different ways. and it's all held together through this mechanism, which I think is quite novel, where you're moving your kind of worker, I suppose, or your player piece onto these cards, but the further you go, the more expensive it's going to be, but you get to trigger these events as you go, and they're normally good, but they can even sometimes be bad. I have played this a few times. Again, I have recorded my review. I'm not going to say much more than that, but it will be releasing soon, and yeah, quite excited to do that. So that is Rise. Almost feels like a roll and write style game, but a board game version. There's a lot going on here, lots of combos and all that kind of stuff. So that is Rise. I picked up a copy of Titania. So this is a game that's going back. I pretty much bought this solely on the reason that the designer is Rudiger Dorn. I've been trying to go back through his whole back catalogue because he very rarely releases a game that I don't like, or at least appreciate. I played Arcadia recently, which one I really enjoyed. So yeah, I need to, or it kind of inspired me to try his other games out. I don't know too much about this one, so I've pretty much almost blind bought this one. I know it's a kind of a hand management game, but it does have a board as well. And I got, again, kind of quietly optimistic about how Titania is going to be, because games of this era are generally my thing. So that is Titania. Also picked up a copy of The Tower of Babel. So this is a Reiner Knizia game, and I'm actually really intrigued about how this one works, because it's almost like a negotiation game as you're trying to build these wonders, but you need to have the input of the other players to help you. So they can offer you stuff in order to contribute to building, but every offer that you reject, those rejected players get points for doing so. Now that sounds really simple, but that certainly has caught my attention. And it's those kind of clever mechanisms that intrigue me now. Something simple but effective, and hopefully it's going to be as good as I think it's going to be, because it seems to be a bit of a cult classic towards Knizia fanboys like this one, and I'm hoping I'm going to be one of them. So and I've also heard it plays perfectly at 3 players. Now 3 players is my most numerous player count, and I play most games at 3 players. So to have a game optimized at that sounds right up my alley. So that is The Tower of Babel. On to the last few now then. So I picked up a copy of Bali. This is a game by the same designer of Carcassonne, so you might recognise his name. I don't know too much about this one. I picked up at a good price on KIENDA, so I took a bit of a speculative punt on it. But it's a card game with, I believe, some kind of degree of stock holding into it. So I tend to like more involved card games, or card games that do something a bit different and feel clever. So yeah. Again, quietly optimistic, and have an open mind going into playing Bali. Also picked up a copy of So this has been quite consistently recommended to me by one of my viewers. It's a Paolo Mori design, so much like Rudiger Dorn, I like to go through his back catalogue because he's a brilliant designer. Not all of his games are for me, but again, I see the good in all of them. And this is kind of a Civ game, but it's more of an abstract game as you have this grid of tiles. I'm not quite sure how mechanically it works other than that, but it's got Paolo Mori's name on the box. Nice and small little box here, and again, it's that old school Euro that I tend to enjoy. So it looks more abstract than anything, but I shall see. And I'm going in again optimistic, and hopefully it's going to be good. So that is Also picked up a copy of Manhattan. So I've been after Manhattan for quite a long time now. It's quite hard to find a copy here in the UK. This is an older area control game about building skyscrapers in Manhattan. So I believe you're getting points in different ways, such as majorities, tallest tower, that kind of thing. And the way you put stuff on the board is based on literally your position on the table. So depending on which way you're looking at the board, depends on where you can put your towers. It's actually from the same designer as Puerto Rico, so Andreas Seyfarth, very, very clever man. So hopefully it's going to be simple, accessible, can get it to the table quickly. I think it only takes around 45 minutes to play. So these are the kind of games I'm looking for at the moment. So yeah, hopefully this is going to be, earn its right as a classic, and I'm going to enjoy it as much as a lot of other people do. And the final game that I haven't got the physical copy here, but it is due to be delivered later today. This is Darwin's Journey. So Darwin's Journey has been right at the top of my most anticipated games for probably a couple of years now, and there's been several delays on Kickstarter. This is the latest Simone Luciani game, a designer I generally love everything he puts out. all about kind of like Darwin's Journey. You're discovering new animals, this kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, always intrigued to see what Luciani does. I'm a little bit apprehensive to see if it's going to be a bit too heavy in order to get it to the table regularly, but we shall see. It's going to be good at least. You know, it's got Luciani's name on the box. They obviously spent a lot of time and effort to get it right. So hopefully all the wait has been worth it. So that's it really. That's all the games that I have acquired. I'm quite looking forward to sharing my thoughts about these games. And it gives you an idea about what's going to come up in terms of content on the channel. Now, if you have enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit like and subscribe to, and also check out my other content, and let me know in the comments which one of these games you're most anticipating, or most looking forward to me covering. And also, if you have any thoughts on these games themselves. But for everybody else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye-bye.